Hi everyone, this is Mr Neel Raithatha, also known as the Wax Whisperer. Thank you for joining me in my latest video. This is of a very interesting case of a patient who actually attended today, and we booked them in as an emergency appointment because they're experiencing severe otalgia. So otalgia is the medical phrase or name or term given to an earache. They were unable to sleep last night, and so we booked them in at the end of the day after clinic, and they presented with this really dark occluding earwax. Laterally, so near the entrance, it was quite soft, you can see here, but medially here, it's quite firm. And it was really a difficult case because the patient was experiencing extreme earache even during the procedure. So as soon as I made contacts, even here, it was just really uncomfortable for the patient. And you can see that we're not really making we're not applying much force, not making much contact. So it does complicate matters because in order to remove this wax plug, I need to manipulate the wax and be a bit forceful, gentle but forceful. But the patient was unable to really handle any sort of manipulation of the wax because it's just too uncomfortable for them. You saw I used an ear hook at one stage, and I had to come out immediately because it was just excruciatingly painful for the patient. And in that respect, this is probably the most complex procedure I've done for a while because I had to try to navigate the pain the patient's experiencing, but at the same time trying to remove this wax. And I did give the patient some options. We discussed 3 options. I explained that we can get the patient to come back later on in the week after using some drops twice a day for 5 days. Alternatively, I was happy to give, we take a payment at the time of booking, and it's a default payment for my clinical time, but I was more than happy to refund the patient today and advise them to see an ENT specialist, because what an ENT specialist can do that I can't is either apply some local anaesthetic via kind of some drops or inject some local anaesthetic, so typically lidocaine. And that can help numb the patient's ear, and then the ENT surgeon specialist can remove the wax without any fear. They can manipulate the wax in the way it's required. Alternatively, we just persevere. I put loads of drops and we just see what happens. And there'll be a stage, and you can see I've put so many drops in already, and I'll let you know when the moment was if I haven't missed it already. No, I think it's later on the video. I actually sat the patient out in the waiting area, and I put some, so for this, olive oil wasn't really going to cut the mustard, so I put some sodium bicarbonate drops in there, and I left it for 15 minutes. So I got my timer out. I put the reception music on a bit loud for the patient so they can hear. Unfortunately, their left ear wasn't blocked, so they were still able to hear from that side, but just got them nice and comfortable in the reception area. Got them seated, and fortunately the patient was the last one of the day. We got them in at the end of the day, so there's no one else being expecting to be seen, and therefore waiting in the waiting area. And I did give the patient realistic expectations, and my gut hunch was that we wouldn't be able to remove this because it's just too impacted. Now, the patient denies using any cotton buds, but given it's so impacted and pushed in, you can see there's hairs there. So hairs, when you get matted hairs like this, it's almost sort of a giveaway that even if the patient didn't use cotton buds, something else, like an earbud maybe, or even their finger, something has lodged this, and you'll have a better idea once I do remove this. The ear canal immediately is inflamed and it's swollen around the wax plug, so the wax plug is trapped. And you will have a better view as we proceed with the video, but so I'm having to remove this wax plug, which is actually larger than the ear canal, and I'm having to bring it through, and what made it really uncomfortable for the patient is the texture of this wax. It's rock solid, so even with the drops it's extremely solid, the core of it anyway. And once I remove the plug, you should see that the patient, you'll see the sore spot, let's say on the back part of the ear canal is heavily bruised, and so every time I was touching this wax like I am now, it's rubbing against that sore spot, making it uncomfortable. Now, at this stage, it was becoming a bit more promising. You can see that I'm actually able to remove some of this wax. And sometimes with a wax plug like this, it's like a game of Jenga. You remove one piece, and the whole the whole Jenga tower that you've created falls apart, it drops. And it can be like that with wax. You remove one segment of the wax and even a solid, rock solid piece like this, it just crumbles and you get able to remove it. But it wasn't to be the case here. And again, I'm just working from the bottom here. I'm just trying to, because I can see a bit of a weak spot here. You can see the wax is coming away slightly. And a giveaway that this wax has been there for a while is the colour. You can see it's oxidised. It's almost pitch black in appearance. And again, just put some more olive oil here at this stage just to lubricate it. What we did, every time the patient found it uncomfortable, just to reassure them that, you know, we're not touching the ear canal and we're not touching the eardrum. This is what's great about our technology. We can stop the recording and play it back to the patient. And that really helps the patient. It reassures them that, you know, we're not intentionally causing any discomfort. It's not because, you know, it's not our technique that's causing the pain. It's just the wax plug. And the patient really appreciated that. Now, what I did with this patient as well, I got the patient to open their jaw. Now, when we open the jaw, it widens the ear canal. Now, this is a bit deeper. So the ear canal widens around a centimetre and a half into the ear canal when you open your jaw. But I suspect this was just slightly beyond that, but it did help a bit. The patient said that by opening the jaw whilst I was trying to remove it, it was slightly less uncomfortable, less painful. And I'm still kind of deliberating whether I'm going to be able to remove this. So although the video here says it's 30 minutes, the patient was here for about 40 minutes because we put drops in for about 15-20 minutes in total. So this is the moment I got the patient sat in the waiting area and we put these sodium bicarbonate drops in and I left it for 15 minutes. I got my timer out. Got the patient comfortable, and you can see it has the lateral surface of this wax has softened somewhat, but it was just the outer layer. So as I'm suctioning the softened wax, you can see now it's getting hard again. So it's not penetrated, even though it's 15 minutes, it hasn't really penetrated. And if the patient went away for twice a day and put the drops in for 5 days, it would have really, I hope, penetrated, but the patient really wanted this to be removed today. And that's one of the negatives of, in the UK at least, audiologists are not allowed to prescribe any medication. It would have been really helpful for me to have instilled some local anaesthetic in this patient's ear. Who knows, and that might change in the future, but currently our hands are tied behind the back in the UK. So there's a bit of a gap at the bottom opening, and I'm just trying to lift this up and away because sometimes it can get trapped in the inferior recess. So as we approach the eardrum, about 0.5 centimetre away, the ear canal dips and it comes back up again. It creates a little trench, a little basin, and quite often you can get wax stuck in there. So if you lift the wax plug up and trying to lift it out of the inferior recess, it can move, but it wasn't to be. I'm just trying all different parts of the ear canal, to the back, to the bottom, to the right, and to the top. And you can see I'm just how gentle I'm being. I'm just using this rocking movement. And as I'm rocking it side to side, I'm trying to come away out of the ear with the sucker to bring the wax out. But even that was that technique I was using there was excruciatingly painful for the patient. So I just put some more olive oil just to kind of lubricate the ear canal walls. So I have got the outer half of the wax out at this stage, but it's just this medial wax. Now, you could argue this is keratosis obturans, but it's not. Now, keratosis obturans is when you've got a skin plug. Now, this is not a skin plug. It's just more earwax. So, but it had a similar effect. Keratosis obturans can be as difficult to remove as this wax plug. And what's a giveaway is when the patient arrived, they were holding their right ear in their hand. So you kind of know from the offset this is going to be a challenging one. It was going to be very uncomfortable. So I'm just going to the roof. Now you'll see I did manage to bring this down a little bit. Because the ear canal was swollen at the roof, the wax plug is trapped underneath. So whilst you can see I've just put some more sodium bicarbonate drops in here, just left it another 5 minutes. Whilst you're just watching this bit, I just want to wish anyone who's celebrating Diwali a happy Diwali. Diwali, for anyone who doesn't know, it's a Hindu festival, and it's a festival of light. So light over darkness and good over evil. Some of you may know the historic story of Lord Rama, who is an Indian prince. Some people see Lord Rama as God, and he saved his wife, who was abducted by an evil demon king, Ravan. And it's just a celebration of Hindu celebration of light over darkness and good over evil. And in our Hindu homes, we light what we call divas. Divas are little clay pots, and we light a candle inside there. And the reason for that is when Lord Rama rescued his wife and returned back to his village to aid his wife and himself getting back to the village safely, all the villagers and local people lit these candles, so it provided a route back, safe route back for Lord Rama. Say Lord Rama, but in Gujarati, a Hindu, we call it Ram. So that's how we pronounce it, Ram. And Ravan is the evil demon monster with 10 heads. Anyway, we'll come back to this. So I just wanted to wish anyone celebrating Diwali a happy Diwali. So at this stage, I just again reiterated the options for the patient. It was, would you want me to continue, or do you want me to? It's all up to the patient. We want to do what's best for the patient, and I was hesitant, if truth be told, to use the hook. I used the hook right at the beginning of the video, and it was so painful for the bone. Obviously, we've kind of out of the ear at that stage, and you've only seen the bits that were in the ear, but the patient, we had to just sit for a few moments, and the patient had to gather themselves because it was so painful. But the patient just wanted this out, so I pulled out the metal hooks. Not often I use the metal hook. The metal hook, the carbon fibre ear hook, St. Bart's high ear hook I used before, it just wasn't going to cut the mustard. And I don't know if you can see that at the top, the wax plug goes up and the ear canal's swollen around, it's trapped. I think you'll see the moment in a moment. I think here's when I used the ear hook. And I was dreading it, the patient was dreading it, but I've just got it in, and patient moved, but as the patient moved, I just pulled the hook out, and I was hoping, you can see the tail end of this, but I wasn't sure if the plug came out, and fortunately it did. Go back in, that's the patient's eardrum. You can see on the back part of the ear canal, it's really red, and you can see how swollen it is medially, and the plug of wax was stuck there, it was trapped. But the eardrum's nice and healthy, so the patient was ecstatic, over the moon. That's the wax plug against the side of the ear hook, the metal ear hook that I used. I hope you enjoyed that video, guys, and it kind of shows the complexities of performing earwax removal, especially when the patient's experiencing earache in the first instance. Take care, keep well, and speak soon. Bye.